I grew up here in Winston since I've been 4 years old. Graduated from Reagan High School on the northwest side of town. I work at Wells Fargo in investments. I do photography on the side, so I have my own photography business. I've served on boards and volunteering for organizations like the Hispanic League, Love Out Loud, Senior Services. I also have a soccer league that I started. We are almost 300 players, and it's just a soccer league that's welcoming of all skill levels and all peoples, and it's really great. I mean, growing up, I remember visions of being in Honduras when I was a small child, but I remember getting on a, coming to the United States and being with my parents, and between the ages of 4 to 15, I just thought I was like everyone else. I grew up right here, went to Meadow Lark Elementary, Meadow Lark Middle, and had the same kind of upbringing that everyone else had, learning the same things. We've kept a lot of traditions from our country. Like my mom loves to make tamales around Christmas time, and it was a tradition in our country that when you make tamales, you make it for the whole village. And so my mom will always whip up hundreds and hundreds of tamales, more than we can ever eat, but it will definitely feed us for several weeks, and we give them out. And so that's something tradition-wise that we've held on to since I was little, and we've always continued to do. And then there's other aspects of American culture that we've kind of adopted, like celebrating, for example, Thanksgiving, which is not something that's really celebrated in Honduras, but we've kind of immersed ourselves in it, and we have people at our house, we have Thanksgiving dinner and enjoy that. And yeah, so we kind of done really well blending the two cultures, and it's really nice. It was when I turned 15 that I found out who I was, because I wanted to enlist in the military. I talked to a recruiter, and the recruiter came to my house and spoke to my parents, and we all had a conversation about what enlisting would entail. And so when the recruiter left, that's when my parents sat me down and we had a conversation about who I was. And they revealed to me, hey, you're not a U.S. citizen, you did come here illegally, you won't be allowed to vote, you won't be allowed to enlist, you won't be able to do certain things, and that's just the reality you face. And it was kind of weird because I felt like a lot of things changed, but a lot of things also didn't, because I was still who I was. It's like this intangible thing about me that at the time when I was 15 didn't affect me too much. I continued having high school be my primary concern and all the shenanigans that comes with. It wasn't until I kind of now becoming an adult, trying to go to school, trying to do certain things, that I learned there's a lot of limitations and fear, and having to renew my status every year. I kind of grew into it as an adult and learning about all the complexities and challenges that come with it. I served on the board with the Hispanic League. They offer scholarships for immigrants to help support them, because I go to college and I pay out-of-state tuition. Regardless of how long I've lived in North Carolina, I pay out-of-state tuition, which is 3 times the standard rate, and I don't qualify for FAFSA, so I can't take out any kind of government aid for that. So it's super expensive to go to college. Yeah. Growing up, I wanted to be a police officer, and I can't do that. You have to be a U.S. citizen to be a police officer. So I serve with the gang steering committee of the Winston-Salem Police Department, because that's the closest that I can get to that space, and we work with youth, at-risk youth, to try to help them not go down certain paths that are negative. But yeah, we can't be police officers, can't vote, the out-of-state tuition part, we can't leave the country, of course. But other than that, we pay all the taxes. I have a car loan, pay all the insurance on it, have health insurance of my own. It's tough to plan for the future with this hanging over your head, I can tell you that. And I'm supposed to graduate from Forsyth Tech in the fall. So it's taken me a long time, because I couldn't afford school up until most recently with my job currently. I'm able to actually pay for the out-of-state tuition. And so I've been going to school for the past 3 years, and finally will graduate in the fall from Forsyth Tech, and hopefully I think as a person, it's taught me a lot about empathy, because I think there's things people face and struggle with that you don't see. Like, I can engage with anyone at work or anyone playing soccer and just, well, look at me, oh, you know, they can't tell I'm a U.S. citizen or not. So in that sense, you know, it's been interesting, but I have, on some rare occasions, experienced prejudice. I remember in high school, I had someone that I was dating at the time, and I met their parents, and then their parents told them that they didn't want them dating me because they thought I would steal citizenship from them. And so that was one experience. And then it's tough in the workplace, largely because I feel like I'm always educating whoever my boss is or whoever I report to about who I am, because they have to deal with the employment paperwork of it, and you know, it's not something that's talked about, understood. Immigration feels incredibly nuanced because it's a hot button topic, but very little is actually understood about it. I am an individual with a unique identity, but my situation is really not as special as people think it is. There are millions of households with mixed status families. My brother is 19. He is an airman in the United States Air Force. My sister is 18. They're both college students. My sister works as a teacher's assistant. She wants to be a teacher. And yeah, they both live with my parents, who have a mortgage. We've had some family discussions about what life would look like, but again, it's just it's incredibly difficult to even accept the reality of it, and then to begin to plan what that reality will look like, and how to put food on the table, how to make sure my siblings can continue to go to college, continue to advance themselves. I'm currently a college student, so I don't know how, you know, continuing to do that amidst everything else going on. Yeah, it's. I would imagine it's a lot on them too. Even though they're U.S. citizens, being in their shoes, I imagine, is just as difficult as trying to figure out what life will look like without your parents or your brother being officially recognized or people. I've seen, most recently, very relevant now, is that Trump announced that they might be slowing down immigration enforcement, specifically on farms, hospitality centers, food service, those kind of areas. But I want to emphasize that I don't think we are in every aspect of American life. We're ingrained in all these spaces. We're not just, for lack of a better way to put it, laborers. We're financial professionals, health service specialists, we're educators. You know, we're in every field that you can think of, every space you can think of. There are immigrants who are TPS immigrants, who are DACA immigrants. We're ingrained in American society because we have been here for multiple decades. I think we should prioritize making a system and making a place where we can welcome people who want to work hard, live peacefully. We're not criminals. In order to be eligible for temporary protective status, we go through annual background checks. We want to continue calling the place that we've called the last 2 decades home. There's no way to uproot someone or pluck someone out of the society they've been in for over 2 decades. They have friends, they have relationships, they have coworkers, projects, teams, spaces where they make positive contributions that not just those immigrants themselves are going to suffer, but the people around them will suffer as well. I mean, the best help would be actually a pathway to staying here permanently. I've been here for almost 25 years, quarter of a century. My English proficiency is far better than my Spanish proficiency. I speak fluent Spanish, but honestly, I struggle writing sometimes. So this is home for me. And it's scary to think that in 3 weeks' time, I will essentially become nobody. I will become undocumented. I won't have a lot of the things. I'll be let go from my job. That's already been discussed with my employer, and we've had several meetings about it. July 5th is on a Saturday, so if nothing else happens between now and then, I won't be allowed to come into the office on Monday. I don't know how I'll live. And I don't know how to even begin to plan around that. Like, I've had some discussions, I've thought about certain things, but I just don't even know how to plan around that. It's something I've never encountered my entire life, and it feels bizarre and surreal and difficult. I met Virginia Fox I sent her an email a number of years ago, and she replied back, and I saved the email, still have it today, just telling her that I was her neighbor, I grew up here. She, at the time, had covered where I had lived. She essentially replied via email saying, I wasn't meant to be here, that I don't belong here. Then I met her in person a couple years ago at a Greater Winston-Salem Chamber meeting, and I actually got to meet her in person. Went up to her, and it was so cool because at first she was super friendly, shook my hand, we talked. I told her what I did, and then I ended with, I'm a TPS recipient. I came here illegally when I was 4 years old, but I've grown up here, and I'm your neighbor, and I hope you see me as such and help try to advocate for us. And I gave her a long spiel, and her response was, quote, "Good luck with that," and she walked away. I've met Tom Tillis's aide at a meeting, and when I tried having a conversation with him, he tried to really change it, really spin it on, oh, well, we got to do something about the border. And I'm like, okay, but that's, thousands of miles away. There's people right here in our community, in our neighborhoods. We need your help. We need you to represent us as well. Even though we don't vote, we do pay taxes, and I hope you see the humanity of us and trying to do something for us now. The last time legislation for immigration was passed was back in the 1980s during Ronald Reagan. They passed amnesty for illegal immigrants, and that turned out greatly. The U.S. has not had issues because of that. So that's just one prime example. It's been done before, it can be done again. Some folks were telling me, oh, just go home and come back the right way. Well, if I could have even begun that process when I was 15, I couldn't without uprooting my life. And, I don't think people understand the gravity of the situation that immigrants are currently in, but also the gravity of the situation that forced people to make that incredibly difficult decision to come here in the way that they did. I don't shame my parents for what they did, or else I wouldn't have the life that I have. The biggest thing I've always tried to bring up is just, I am your neighbor. I grew up in the same town, the same schools, playing the same sports, going through a lot of the same rite of passages that everyone else in. I went to prom, I dealt with high school, I played high school sports, I went to high school graduation. I grew up in the same pop culture that we all kind of grew up in. I work, I pay taxes, I proudly serve my community just because I enjoy to do it. I don't anticipate any reward out of it, but just because I like to do it. I can't even begin to grasp to go into a country I haven't been to in 25 years. It seems unfathomable to me. I grew up here in Winston. Winston is my town, my home. Everything about Winston, every corner of Winston I've been a part of. I've served in every corner. I grew up in every corner of Winston, going to school in almost every corner of Winston because my parents moved around a lot when I was younger. I can't imagine growing old anywhere else. I love Star Wars, and there's a quote from it that I've been telling myself almost for the past half year, that hope is like the sun. If you only believe in it when you see it, you'll never make it through the night. It's a Princess Leia quote, and that's what's been carrying me forward.